Startups. We have this idea in our minds that working at a startup means we're working 9 to 9, making $0, but own half the company and live in this environment where our bosses are super mean, but we accept it because we have a goal of making a lot of money at this company. Unfortunately, since joining a startup, Hollywood got it completely wrong. And so, what I'd like to do is break this notion and talk about my experiences working as a developer at Cal.com. We'll cover everything like my hours, what I do at work, compensation, everything that you need so that you know exactly what goes on in this startup environment. Now, the first thing I wanted to talk about is what I do day to day, because this is the most boring and basic part of being at a startup. Now, this might actually come as a surprise to many of you because we have a thought in our minds that working at a startup is going to be like that movie Social Network where you're working insane amounts of hours. Firstly, we're completely remote, so I'm working from home. That's awesome. Fuck Amazon. And I usually wake up around 6 a.m. and I just get straight to coding. This coding session could be anywhere from 4 to 6 hours where we're working on a specific project that we're obviously trying to finish. And then around that time, either before, during, or after my coding sessions, I have the very dreaded meetings with my other coworkers. In these meetings, we just game plan and talk about exactly what we need to do to make the company better, how we can adjust, and whatever we need to do, just in a typical meeting. Now, all jokes aside, I do like the meetings. My coworkers are actually really awesome. And so once I'm done the meetings, I either go back to programming on the project I was working on, or I do some side quests that they've given me. Now, I like to highlight these as side quests because I do not believe that people at bigger tech companies have this experience. But we're just gonna put a pause on that. But I just wanted to say that a typical workday, like I just laid out, is the exact same as what would happen at a bigger, like Fang-esque company. The coding is the exact same. I code with the company repository. I push the code to production as we all do. I'm kidding. Sometimes I kind of did a mistake before, but I usually make a branch and then my boss merges it once everything is correct. But where lies the big difference at working at a startup compared to like any other environment is the teamwork that we have and the outside tasks that we do other than just coding. So how the company is organized is smaller groups of like 5 to 6 people for different parts of the company. Now we're a bit more established as a startup, but we have different sects where it's like engineering, sales, marketing. And because we're so little people, each person in their different section has to do much more than they would if there was more employees. And this is where I think people get it right when they're like making a stereotype about working at a startup. The projects that we are doing are really big. Like I'm only a junior engineer, and the types of stuff we're doing as a small team feels like something that someone with much more experience would have to do. Now, in my case, I was given a project that I solely had to work on with no help. Honestly, at first, I was quite shocked because I wasn't expecting to have this level of responsibility, but it's been awesome for learning. And I'll just make a quick side note here, but if you're a developer that actually wants to learn or run your own business one day, then this environment is just crazy. Like, I really can't think of any other place where a developer can learn as fast as possible and learn as much as possible at the beginning as much as you would at a startup. Another thing I found quite surprising about working at a startup is how nice the people are. Again, we have this stereotype, at least I did, that working in this environment would mean chaos, bosses being mean. And I think at some level, some startups are like that. But every person I've interacted with has just been the kindest, most open, letting me make mistakes and letting me learn. Honestly, it's just been super surprising. And obviously, because you have more responsibility, there will be times where you're going to feel a little bit overwhelmed, or the bosses might want you to do something that you think you can't. And that might be a little bit demanding at times. But again, if you want to be a great developer, if you want to improve as a developer, if you want to have your own company one day, then I think that trade off is 100% worth it. Okay, so we've made it to the point where I think a lot of you have been waiting for, and it is the salary and compensation. So I'm not too comfortable talking about numbers like that. I just never liked it, but you can like find the stuff online. We're like a public company. But as many of us know, working at a startup means we're probably gonna make a little bit less. And this is entirely true in my situation. I'm making around like 10 to 15% less than an engineer in my position would make. That is in Canada, of course. But as many of us also know, working at a startup means you get better compensation, aka getting bigger portions of the company than you would in a regular company. And now, again, I'm not gonna talk about numbers, but the compensation is really good. Like over the next 4 years, I'm going to be getting 6 figures worth of stock. And if you actually believe in your company, Getting the stock feels like $1 billion in my opinion, because not only do you see your company grow, but because you guys are a smaller team, you feel the impact of your hard work and successful work. And so the final thing I wanted to talk about is my life outside of the startup. I was actually a little bit scared that I wouldn't have enough time to do YouTube and other side projects that I was interested in, but that has been far from the truth. Firstly, the company is like really lenient about days off. Like they really they genuinely want you to take days off. And so while it is a bit harder to do YouTube and to do my side projects as an employed person versus unemployed, after like whatever, I'm done work at 5, I have all this time to do what I want. Like I'm able to do fun shit. I'm able to pursue other things than just work, even though I'm having a lot of fun at work. There is other things than just work. And I think this is the perfect way to leave it. I really thought that the startup environment and working in this culture was going to be one thing, and it has exceeded my expectations. And maybe it's like 1 in 5 startups has this, level of competency with their employees and work-life balance and the type of things that I was lucky enough to have. But it's definitely out there for those of you that want to work like I do. And so yeah, I hope this answered a few of your questions. If you have any, please let me know below. And also, if you made it to the end of this video, I want to know. So leave, leave 2 crying emojis below. That way I know you made it to the end of the video, and I promise I will reply. Also, if you want to join the Discord where we have over 1,000 developers just like you, statistically speaking, again, I always talk about this, but statistically speaking, you are in your 20s or just about to enter your 20s as a male who wants to be a programmer but also wants to do business as well. So join it. There's people just like you in there, so why not? Happy coding, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.